I'm sure there's an audience here that want to speak to you too.
Okay.
So who would like to put their first question to Celia, please? And don't be shy. The gentleman in the back there, in the blue shirt.
Thanks. So it's a very silly question. When you were on location for the Marigold Hotels, were you all staying together in one place? Because there's quite a chemistry on screen between all of you, and I was wondering whether you'd stayed in the same place and hence it had made it a bit easier or not.
A good chemistry?
Yeah.
Yes. No, we did actually. And they were, well, because the two dames are in their, I mean, they belie their age, but they're both 80 now, which is incredible when you see them on the screen. We were looked after most overwhelmingly luxuriously, which was gorgeous, except when you went out of the gate and then you'd suddenly see a little girl looking for a cabbage leaf, smiling the while, by the way. But and I can remember quite elderly ladies in dark green saris that matched the colour of the lawn, and they were practically mowing the lawn with their hands. They were weeding the lawn. And I can remember, this sounds awfully dramatic, but I can remember saying namaste to them, which is good day in Indian, and them sort of not believing that somebody was going to talk to them, which was awful, really. But there is that sort of, you know, caste system still, I'm afraid. But, you know, when we did talk to each other, you know, their smiles lit up their faces. But I guess it did help us all living together because we lived together in the story. So, yeah, that was lovely.
Somebody else would like to put a question to Celia? Oh, yes, I beg your pardon. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
You mentioned before about kind of a bit of like a career change from ballerina to actress. I was wondering, like, looking back at like your history or like career now, could you ever imagine like being where you are now?
Somebody else asked me that yesterday, actually. No, not really. I mean, I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I mean, I couldn't be happier at the moment because I'm having such wonderful chances. But you daren't... It's very interesting that there's expressions that I talk about in my book on about the first page. There's an expression when people say, well, when do you think you made it? And I say, made what? And then they say, well, when did you get there? And I said, get where? Because actually, the thing is, you never know. Truthfully, I have no idea what my next job is now. I quite like not knowing. But so you can't really predict, and you can't really map out your career because you absolutely have no idea, and you are at the whim of somebody else always. So it's sort of, you keep your fingers crossed and hope it'll still keep going. That's the truth.
Do you think as well, being an actress, it takes a certain type of personality that is prepared to be spontaneous and actually make a lot of sacrifices to, you know, you're not there for family occasions or, you know, an income, you know, most people don't earn the kind of Hollywood money that the theatre actors will earn. So do you think there's a lot of sacrifice there for actors? I've said this before, but it's really a case of you've got to want to do it or die, because there's quite a lot in your way. I mean, if you want to make money, it's a sort of mad way to begin, because you don't. You've got to be, I mean, I'm not saying it was, you know, the most enjoyable time of my life, but I was a cleaner, I was a waitress, you know, and I did all those things. I don't regret any of them, actually. But you have to be terribly determined. And yes, and families sometimes don't understand that you can't be at the party and you can't be at the christening, and, you know, so you do have to really be very determined that you're going to follow your path. Or follow the opportunities you're given, because you don't know when there's going to be another one. Because you actually mentioned about that as well, about treading water as an actor, the periods of time when you're not working.
Yes, and that's very hard. I mean, I say in my book that
I believe an actor's life is divided up into 3 very unequal thirds. One is when you rehearse and you film and you are acting in a play. That's quite tiny. There's another third where you have to look after yourself and keep your self-esteem up. And that's quite difficult, because if you don't get a job and you're rejected, then you feel ghastly and you don't, you lose confidence. It's like sand going through your fingers. It's quite frightening how it goes up and down so much. And you have to pull yourself up and then try and pretend to be confident you're nodding with understanding there. You have to, act confident in an interview, that you might not have worked for 6 months or something. That's huge. And you have to keep yourself fit and, ready to spring if somebody asks you. And the other third, which frankly I think is the biggest of all, is the social side of our life. And that includes behaving well at interviews, going to first nights, going to parties, and really being the sort of person in an interview where the director thinks, oh, actually, she'd be quite good fun to have on board, because particularly in a theatre company, say, or even in a film as an ensemble cast as this, you have got to get on with everybody else. It's terribly important. And so that's another part of your life which perhaps you don't quite take on board at the beginning.
That's very true. Would somebody else like to put a yes, please, young lady? Just wait for that's it.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
How did you feel when you finished to write a book?
Hooray! The end. It's a marvellous feeling, actually. It really is. Then, of course, you have to do all the proofreading, and because I'm an actress, I think there were quite a lot of people reading it very, very carefully and saying, look, you said it was Tuesday on page 7. How come it's suddenly Friday? And it's those sort of things that I've not looked out for. So I had quite a lot of corrections, didn't I, Robert? Which I hated. It was like getting no marks in your mental arithmetic exam or your homework being sent back. But, you have to do it. You have to get on with it and not make a fuss. But it's a fantastic feeling when you get to the end, actually.
Another question for Celia? Oh,
Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering, what's next? Is there something else you'd like to try? You've now done the book. Is there another dream?
Well, I mean, I don't mind saying that I think it would be... I think the book would make a marvellous screenplay, but I'm not sure that that's right for me to do it. It's sometimes a much better idea for somebody else's eye to do it. I don't know. I love to be dared to do things. And I really will, take a dare. The only thing I don't think I'm ever going to do, and I looked at it because I was in Nice trying to get book 2 well on the way a few weeks ago, and I went up to Valberg, which is, Nice has got everything. It's got sea, sun, and snow on the mountains. And I looked at these little tiny tots of about sort of 2 and 4 skiing down the mountain, and I could see that it was quite a good idea, but I'm not sure I'd do that, and I most certainly wouldn't bungee jump. Is that what you meant? The things that I might or might not do. I mean, I know that's probably not what you meant, but anything else that somebody will ask me to try, I will, of course.
would you consider writing a screenplay yourself? A different one?
Well, I hadn't thought of it, but if I get a subject that I would absolutely run with, why not?
You wouldn't go down the Clint Eastwood route and direct?
Gosh, well, funnily enough, I saw for the first time ever Play Misty for Me the other day, and it was his directorial debut. I didn't realise that. But what a handsome hunk, though, isn't he? He made sure he photographed himself jolly well, I can tell you that. But, never say never.
Well, no, exactly. Talking about handsome hunks, I can't believe we've spoke about the second best Exotic Marigold Hotel and not mentioned Richard Gere.
I know.
God, we're slipping, or I am.
No, you're not. No.
It must have been a treat working with somebody like him.
Well, I'm forever starstruck. I really do mean that. I hope I always will be. So it was a huge thrill for us all when we knew he was coming. And it was quite clever, really, because in the story, he is a new guest in the hotel, and in our group of friends, he was a new person coming in. So it was quite a clever art reflecting life, really.
Time for 2 more questions. Oh, yes, lady at the back.
Hi, I heard you earlier today saying that it was overhearing a conversation in Nice that kind of inspired your book. Did you go to Nice for a holiday, or were you actually there to write the book? And
No, funnily enough, I mean, I've said this before, but it is true. I went to Nice and completely fell in love with the place. Just for a holiday, actually, and it was in November, I remember, and I swam in the sea, and it was warm, and it was just marvellous. And one day I went out for a baguette and came back with an apartment. Truly, I did. It was just one of the most mad things I've done in my life, but I don't regret any of it. And so in the book, you will share my excitement that Teresa had when she bought her apartment just on a whim. And, buying the furniture she buys, I bought. So it's very much in my heart about how she started her new adventure. But it really is the most beautiful place. So it's a joy to be there. And I hope that my joy is reflected in her joy in the book.
You definitely feel that.
Good.
Yeah, definitely.